Hello. In the previous video lesson, I discussed the degree of economic integration between the EU countries and also focusing on the Eurozone. So then the purpose of this lesson is then to also then bring up some of the risks involved in joining a monetary union. So I will discuss briefly the European debt crisis that occurred in the aftermath of the financial crisis of the USA in 2008, 2009, which is referred to as the commonly as European debt crisis or Euro crisis. So indeed, after the financial crisis, the financial markets around the world were quite in turmoil. And in the aftermath, first it was the Greek government that disclosed that its budget deficits were much higher than had been previously reported. So there had been this kind of accounting practices had been somewhat interpreted in a creative way, and that then led to a sort of panic related to the euro currency and the eurozone. That what would happen would Greece be forced to exit the eurozone and reintroduce its own currency, and what happens to the credibility of the euro if, for example, the Greek government would default its credits, meaning that it wouldn't pay back. What would happen to the like interest rates in Europe? So there was a lot of panic in the financial market during that time. And then first it was Greece, but then it was also then this problem spread to, and this kind of credibility issues led to also other Eurozone member states, and eventually also Ireland, Portugal, Cyprus, and Spain had to call for help from the other member states of the monetary union and the EU. So this kind of problems of Greece came to public in late 2009. And then the first bailout package was organized in May 2010. So there was like maybe almost like a half year of uncertainty that how this crisis will be resolved. And in this figure below, I have also then taken somehow this market interest rates then behaved in the some of the Eurozone countries. So the light blue curve is that of Greece. So at the worst, then the interest rates would reach almost to 30%, which is of course very very detrimental for the economy. And then there is also countries like Portugal. Italy also had very very high interest rates, so there was also worries that this problems would also spread to Italy, although Italy didn't really end up asking for help. But of course Italy would be the largest of these Eurozone countries that had this kind of debt problems. So there was first bailout package for Greece in May 2010, but that was not sufficient. So then there was even second package in March 2012, and third one in still in 2015. Until then this Greek bailout was sufficient. And then there would be also required support for Ireland and Portugal and Cyprus. Um, there would be also then Spain asked for help, but that was not for the Spanish government, but actually that was for the recapitalization of Spanish banks. So there was a lot of trouble, fortunately in the relatively small Eurozone countries, and especially Greece, and then in the end the larger Eurozone economies such as Germany and France had, of course, interest to support, for example, Greece, because if the Greek government would default on its credits, of course it would hurt then the large European banks. So then this would then also then the problem would and then be spreading also to the larger EU countries. So the biggest price, of course, was paid, especially in Greece. So there was this troika of European Commission, EC, European Central Bank, ECB, and International Monetary Fund, IMF, were organizing these bailout packages, but there were also very harsh conditions for the Greek government, and some of these kind of so-called austerity measures that had to be taken included public sector reforms, for example, very substantial wage cuts to civil servants, and also abolishing benefits and bonuses. There had to be some municipality mergers to cut down costs. There was sale of government property and privatization of public companies to generate some money. In addition, then Greece was forced to implement labor market reforms, for example, changes to layoffs and overtime pay. Taxes had to be increased, and new taxes were introduced. And then it also hurt very much the retired older people, because there were like a very sizable cuts in pensions, and the retirement age was also increased. So these were very harsh measures, and on this picture below, I also have this Greek people demonstrating against this kind of austerity measures. There would be several demonstrations, and Greek people didn't really were obviously not happy with this kind of very harsh measures to balance the public debt. So maybe I should mention that what is the if I come back to this problem that when this kind of large budget deficits of the Greek government appeared, then the Greek government had very high public debt at that point, and usually how governments then finance their debt, so they finance by taking new debt. But when the interest rates are soaring to double digits and closer to 30%, then of course this new debt becomes extremely expensive, and then it is difficulty for the government to meet its obligations to pay its debt. So then in many times governments then in the past have defaulted their debts, and of course also eventually in part of this bailout package was that some of this debt would be written off. But anyway, this kind of major default would of course then also then hurt European banks that had this kind of had held, for example, Greek government bonds. But then it would mean that without these bailout packages, the Greek government wouldn't be able to, for example, pay wages and pay pensions and organize this kind of public services. So as a condition of financing the Greek government debt, then these organizations also had this kind of policy measures to try balance the Greek government budget. So this was, of course, then very large shock also for the real economy in Greece, and also hurt the standards of living of Greek people. But it was also not easy for other Eurozone member states who had to actually then finance these bailout packages. So here in Finland, this Greek bailout packages was also very much opposed by the public, because the sentiment in Finland has always been that one should pay its debts, and Finland had this great pride of its kind of clean history, that it never defaulted any credits. So during the second bailout package for Greece, then the Finnish government was was in a sort of crisis itself, and the only way that that the Finnish government could agree to participate in the bailout package was that the Finnish government required some collateral for these debts. So this was this kind of step that would sort of calm down the public in Finland to then allow the Finnish government to participate in the bailout together with other Eurozone member states. And how this bailout, how this collateral was done in practice. So then the Greek banks provided a collateral in cash and highly rated assets, which would be then saved if then the Greece would default, then at least some of this support would be then paid back in that case, and that of course then also gave some kind of additional pressure for the Greek government to then follow these austerity measures and to not default its credits. But this was very unusual arrangement, and also it was perhaps not good necessarily for the reputation of the Finnish government, but it was political necessity, because otherwise then the Finnish government would probably fail, and they wouldn't be able to also participate in the bailout. But that also indicates that there can be also political and economic cost of also participating in the monetary union, and that this is also that highlights the reasons why there is this kind of had this EU countries had agreed on this kind of Maastricht convergence criteria, because there's also risk that if so, for example, if we think about the Greece, if Greece has its own currency rather than being part of the monetary union, then instead of these kind of austerity packages, then the currency exchange rate of drachma could have taken care of many of these adjustments. So instead of adjusting the government and making wage cuts, then the currency exchange rate of drachma or depreciation of drachma would have taken care of a lot of these kind of issues. But being as a monetary union member, then countries, if they do not manage to keep their public debt in reasonable levels, then there is this kind of risk of facing this kind of very harsh austerity measures in the case of like solvency. But also there's risk also for this kind of joint risk also for other member states, that if one or some of the member states are in trouble, then there need to be this kind of support in terms of, for example, the bailout packages. So in the final video lesson on this theme of European monetary integration, I will discuss the question that is what is the long-term sustainability of the monetary union and what kind of challenges are involved. See you then.